After bagging some birds in San Antonio, the ACU football team is back home at Wildcat Stadium. I'm Hannah Knoll.
And I'm Grant Boon. We'll show you the highlights from the big win over Incarnate Word and get you ready for tonight's tilt against McNeese. It's game day in Abilene, and the Adam Dorrel Show starts right now. Welcome to Week 5 of the Adam Dorrel Show from the JMC Network studios on the campus of Abilene Christian University. I'm Grant Boon, along with the head football coach of the ACU Wildcats, Adam Dorrel. Hannah Knoll will join us in just a bit. ACU is now 2-1 in the Southland Conference after a runaway win in San Antonio last Saturday, 45-20, the final score against Incarnate Word. Coach, no matter what level of football you're on, no matter the opponent, how precious are road victories?
Yeah, they're very precious, and obviously for, our football program not winning one since 2014. That was our battle cry all week, and our kids rallied to it, and they were very excited after the game. For the seniors, that's something that's going to be part of their legacy, being able to turn that.
It was really cool, too, even though we were in San Antonio. I don't know if you noticed, but behind you on
big time.
third down, it's something we started here at Wildcat Stadium, but the third down towel way, we had it going.
It was awesome. It was great. I think we had more fans than they did.
We may have.
And I always look at the crowd on third down. I don't know why. I just do. And it's great to see our people there. And they came out in full support, and we're very appreciative of that.
2-1. Not for nothing, is it? 2-1 in the Southland Conference, now tied for second place with 4 other teams, including the McNeese Cowboys, who come riding into Abilene tonight for a game at 7 o'clock at Wildcat Stadium. We'll preview that game a little later, but when we come back, highlights of the big win last Saturday. Stay with us here on the Adam Dorrel Show. ACU hit the road for the first time in conference last Saturday night, squaring off in San Antonio with the Incarnate Word Cardinals, and they came home in the catbird seat. With the highlights, here's Jonathan Rates.
Junior quarterback Dallas Seeley scored 3 rushing touchdowns in the first half and added another through the air as the Wildcats defeated the University of Incarnate Word 45-20. The game was neck and neck early on as Incarnate Word scored with just 9 seconds left in the first quarter to cut the Wildcats' lead to 7-6. But ACU scored 28 unanswered points the rest of the first half to take a 35-6 cushion into halftime. In the second half, the game was a little more evenly matched. In fact, UIW outscored the Wildcats 14-10 through the second half. However, the Wildcats did win the turnover margin 2-0 thanks to an interception by Sam Denmark and a fumble recovery by Jamar Mack. The Wildcats now are 2-1 in conference and win their first road game in 14 tries, as that last win dates back to 2014.
With both teams looking for a crucial win, ACU visited the Incarnate Word Cardinals for their home opener. ACU turned out to be a rude guest from the get-go as it totaled 447 total yards, which almost doubled the Cardinals' 237. The Wildcats also found the end zone on 5 of its first 8 possessions and would have made it 6 if not for 3 straight penalties. ACU was flagged 7 times for 65 yards on the day. Nonetheless, the Wildcat offense moved the ball at will for most of the first half, and on its second drive of the game, it was junior quarterback Dallas Seeley capping an 8-play, 65-yard drive with a 2-yard QB sneak. The Cardinals would remain competitive through the first quarter, though. Quarterback Sean Brophy found Jamari Gilbert on the right sideline on the ensuing drive, and Gilbert took it 41 yards to set up 1st and goal for the Cardinals. A connection between Derek Mitchell and Brophy from 6 yards out closed out the drive, but UIW would still trail 7-6 at the end of the first after a failed extra point. It was all the Wildcats the rest of the half. ACU scored on 4 of its next 5 possessions to build a huge second quarter lead. The first of the touchdowns was set up by a 47-yard pass to senior Troy Grant that was originally ruled a touchdown, but eventually down at the 1. This gave Seeley a chance to earn his second score of the day in just as many carries, as ACU led 14-6 just 24 seconds into the second quarter. On its next drive, the ACU offense was back out of the game. This time it was Seeley connecting with sophomore Deshaun Qualls down the seam for 29 yards to set up his quarterback for his 3rd rushing touchdown on the day. Seeley took the read option in from 13 yards out to give the Wildcats a comfortable 21-6 advantage. After finding senior Carl Whitley in the corner of the end zone to give ACU a 28-6 lead, sophomore running back Tracy James entered the scoring scene. James scampered in from 6 yards out to finish a 28-0 second quarter scoring run. ACU was one illegal block away from taking a 42-6 lead into halftime when Whitley bounced a fourth down reception to the outside and found his way to the end zone. But the play was called back, and another penalty pushed the Wildcats out of field goal range as they settled for a 35-6 halftime lead. Senior kicker Nick Grau gave his team a 38-6 cushion on his only attempt of the night from 28 yards out. But after allowing points on 5 of its previous 6 possessions, UIW defense found life. The Cardinals got a hand on junior punter Simon Larrea's punt, and their offense took over at the ACU 10-yard line. It was just one play for Brophy as he converted his second touchdown pass of the day, this time to Giselle Parra. But after entering the game in relief of Seeley to begin the fourth quarter, redshirt freshman Luke Anthony connected with sophomore Justin Miller on a short screen pass, and Miller did the rest, taking it 34 yards to give ACU a 45-13 lead with 11:32 left in the fourth. UIW would answer on its following possession as Raekwon Dickens found the goal line from 7 yards out, bringing the lead to its final at 45-20. The defense now has 10 takeaways on the year and is allowing just 23.8 points per game. It also allowed just 35 rushing yards to a run-focused offense in UIW. Seeley led the offense with 306 yards and a touchdown on 21 of 31 passing and had 27 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground.
ACU now looks ahead to the matchup back at home against McNeese State. For Optimist Sports, I'm Jonathan Raitz.
All right, Jonathan, thanks. 45-20, the final score over the University of the Incarnate Word. ACU now 2-1 in the conference. The first big play of the game, I thought, Coach, came on special teams. Each team goes 3 and out, and then Simon Laurier, your first-year punter, booms one 69-yard punt and roll. It was down at the 1-yard line in a game that winds up 45-20. That, to me, seems like one that people could easily forget. You think that's a blowout win. But that's early in the game. It sets it to. What does that do for a sideline when you get a punt down to the 1?
Well, he's been super dynamic for our program. It just, when you can go in and have a guy who can flip the field like that, consistently doing it, and then, you know, oh, by the way, his punts inside the 20-yard line are phenomenal. He's great at pooch punting, so he's a dynamic weapon for us.
Well, your defense then did its part.
Yeah.
They forced the 3 and out. You get the ball back, and then from your own 35, you march downfield. There's something about 8 plays, 65 yards. You love to stretch it out, make it happen over the course of a number of plays. And really, you kind of did a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Straight handoffs, some drop back passes. You ran a little fly sweep a few times. And ultimately, it was capped off by a Dallas Seeley quarterback sneak. I know in one sense, it doesn't matter how you score, you're happy to score.
Right.
But when you can show that team you're playing a little bit of everything and maybe put on film to future teams a little bit of everything, what might that do long term?
Well, we want to be very balanced, you know, on offense. You know, for example, if we're going to get 80 snaps in a game, we would like to be 40 run and 40 pass. And obviously we're not quite there yet. We're trending that way. But to me, it's a force multiplier, not only being balanced 50-50, but when you can spread the ball out amongst your receivers, amongst your running backs, there's a lot of things it does. I think it creates really good will for your team. Guys feel, you know, a real sense of being a part of it. And you get a lot more out of them at practice, and it's just harder to defend too.
Well, and you love to go multiple plays. You had another 8 play, you had a 10 play later. The defense gets to rest. They're fresh when they come back. I want to go back to something you said last week on the show. When we asked you what the most important thing was, you said we want to play hard, and then you said we also want to value each possession. Well, you scored on 5 of your first 7 possessions. So you did the second part. You nailed that part. I would guess that also meant you probably played hard as well.
Yes, we did. We played extremely hard. We played with a lot of energy and passion, and I think anybody who was at the game could see that, our sideline compared to their sideline. So I was excited for our players because it's reinforcing what we've been saying since we got here in January. If you do things right and you have good preparation throughout the week, which we did, we had a really good week of practice. You know, we've got an old saying that enthusiasm's free, doesn't cost anything. And, man, when guys can play like that and show up every day at the complex, you get a lot out of the organization like that.
We saw some dynamic plays in the passing game, and I'm going to talk about your receivers for just a minute. We saw the first ever offensive touchdown from Justin Miller, the sophomore from Austin, who has been dynamic in the kick return game last year, had a kickoff return for a touchdown, but this was his first offensive touchdown. Screen, took it to the house. Troy Grant made a couple of catches that most guys probably don't make, and I thought Deshaun Qualls had a great diving catch across the middle. Have there been many drops this year? I can only think of maybe one. Your receivers have really
they've done a good job.
This
they
year,
have, Grant. You're right, and we're really proud of them because they put a lot of work in to get to that point. Carl Whitley's another one. He's having a really good year. Fink, just steady Eddie, and so there's just a group of them, and what we see is they really feed off each other. They're a tight-knit group, and sometimes in that receiving core, it can be difficult for guys to want to spread the football around. Our guys have totally bought into that, and they're okay with it, and I'm very proud of them for that.
Your defense is second in the league only to the team you're going to play tonight. We'll talk about McNeese in just a little bit, but after no takeaways against Stephen F. Austin, they get 2 takeaways and a blocked punt, which to me, it felt like a turnover. I thought the play that Adonis Davis made was huge. A pass gets completed. He strips it out of the hands of the receiver, goes up into the air. Jamar Mack picks it up out of the air. You didn't have, you had 450 some odd yards of offense. It could have been a lot more, but you kept getting the ball on the plus side of the field.
Yeah, and we'll take that every time. And man, I got so excited. I about ran into the official. I took off up the sideline. ACU, I don't think, has had a defensive touchdown in over 3 years. Yeah. That's one of our goals this year. And so when that ball popped, and man, it went right into his hands. And he took off, and that was super exciting. And it's what makes the game of football so much fun to coach, to see our guys with that type of energy, and just the sideline just erupted. And it's cool when you go back and watch the film and you watch the sideline and the coaching staff and the players, and it was a huge play at that point in the game.
Really neat, too, when you think about how many of your players are from the Hill Country, from the San Antonio, Austin area. I thought it was neat that Ciboleau's own Eric Kuhn gets in there, blocks a punt.
Yeah.
He had returned a punt for a blocked punt against Colorado State. Special teams, you said that was an emphasis for you. You had a couple of punts blocked on Saturday night. That was a little weird.
Yes, it was.
But overall, special teams, you did some good things, too,
They were great, and we'll learn from that. And I said after the game, I think to Seth, if you can get exposed like we got exposed and still win the football game, you can walk out of there going, we got to learn from that. So that's something we got to correct. It was a breakdown in our system on punt, and again, we worked on that all week. So hopefully we'll get that fixed this week.
Well, overall, it was a great night in San Antonio. 45-20 the final score. Now the attention turns toward McNeese tonight. We'll preview that game a little bit later on in the show, but when we return, Hannah visits with the son of ASU's all-time touchdown leader who's trying to help this year's Wildcats find the end zone. As we go to break, take a look at scores from last week across the Southland Conference. This is the Adam Dorrel Show. Glad you're with us.
This week on the Optimist Sportscast, first we take a look at the soccer team's weekend homestand against 2 Southland competitors. Next, we talk about what's ahead for the men and women's tennis teams. And finally, we look at the results of the volleyball team after closing their 4-game Southland homestand last Saturday. Welcome to the Optimist Sportscast. I'm Max Preston. The soccer team played a 2-game Southland homestand this weekend, losing to Central Arkansas 2-1 on Friday and winning against Northwestern State 6-2 Sunday. Being down 1-0 against Central Arkansas, senior forward Megan Baer scored an equalizer before halftime. However, Alex Moore of Central Arkansas scored the winning goal in the final minutes of the game to give them the win. Against Northwestern State, the Wildcats had 5 different players score, including senior Chantel Kinsey coming off the bench and scoring 2 goals, and Baer adding another goal on the weekend. The women will next face McNeese on the road Friday. Looking ahead for the tennis teams, the men will be heading to Boise, Idaho to participate in the Boise State Invitational this weekend, while the women will go to Dallas to play in the SMU Invitational. The volleyball team concluded its 4-game homestand last Saturday with a win over the University of New Orleans 3-1. The team won the first 2 sets 25-17 and 25-23. Then New Orleans took the next set 25-20. But the Wildcats bounced back with a close 26-24 win in the 4th set to secure the win. Freshman Caitlin Mueller led the team with 14 kills, while junior Kendall Bossy set up an impressive 51 assists, and sophomore Amanda Chappa had 15 digs. The team will visit McNeese for its next game on Thursday. That's all for this week. For more stories and breaking news, you can go to acuoptimist.com, and be sure to follow Optimist Sports on Twitter and Facebook for more. Until next time, I'm Max Preston.
I'm here with one of football's assistant coaches, Dorrel Montgomery. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So you've come from a very big
football background. You, not only from your own experience, but from your dad's experience. So just how do you think that having him as a dad and with your own experience, how has that prepared you for coaching?
Well, with that, obviously football has been in my life, literally my entire life. He played in the NFL for 10 years and then coached for basically almost 20 years, 19 years from 97 on through 2015, all in the NFL level, consistent years at that. So it was just something that greatly prepared me for the coaching industry, because I've literally been around it since I was in elementary school.
Right.
I would go to the training camps with him at times, and I would always go to the office with him while he would be working. And just seeing that from the time I was 8 years old all the way, through the time I was, 26, 27 years old, I really got a great opportunity to see, firsthand how to, handle coaching as far as, relating to the players, getting them to understand certain things. Because a lot of things are thrown at guys weekly with different game plans. And being able to see him do that, all those years, is something that really prepped me for this industry and this business. And I owe him a lot of credit to that. He's really helped me out. And even since I've gotten into the whole coaching side of things, he's always right there to give me advice. He's always there to, tell me things that I may, need to hear or want to hear, or, if I have any questions, I know that he's a guy that I can always come to. Not a lot of people can say, oh, they can just call a guy who was an NFL coach and just call him up for advice at any given moment. I mean, it could be 8 in the morning or 10 o'clock at night, whatever. I can call him at any given time, and if I have any questions or need any advice, I know that he'll be there to give it to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And like you said, he was at the NFL level, and you've gotten to see some of that and experience some of that
Sure.
also. But so you started out with your undergrad at Iowa State, then you came to ACU, but in between there, you were at, or after that, you were at the University of Michigan, University of Miami, and you've kind of been everywhere. So what brought you back to Abilene?
Yeah, I have been everywhere. I feel like I've been everywhere, I should say. I saw that it was a great opportunity to come back here. I see the direction that this program and that the athletic department is going to the school and everything, the direction that it's heading towards. It's just something that, I really wanted to be a part of. So with that, along with the transition that ACU has made to the Division I level, and this year now being the first full year of competing at the Division I level, it's something that I couldn't pass up. And then, think back to it. I mean, this is literally the place that, where it all started for me. I transferred here from Iowa State and in 2009 and was a student coach here. And that was my first experience of any kind of coaching whatsoever. So it all started here as a student coach from 2009 through 2011 before going on to Miami and Michigan and those other places.
Made your way back.
Oh yeah.
So we're mentioning Iowa State. So you transferred here after you had 4 knee injuries?
3 ACL injuries, 4 meniscus.
Oh my
3 torn ACLs, 4 torn meniscus, all on the same knee.
So you've had experience with injuries.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, football, that happens all the time. You see it every day, sometimes every practice, and certainly every game.
Yeah.
So having experience with that, how is it different for you to help players, especially you're with fullbacks and tight ends? So, for example, Trevor Crane, he recently went through an injury. How is that different? How can you help him maybe on the mental side? Because I mean, it is a mental struggle just as much as it is physical.
It is, and the biggest thing is you just have to have the mindset that I am going to do whatever it takes to get back. And like you said, injuries are going to happen. Unfortunately, but the biggest thing is you have to let these guys understand that, hey, I understand that you're going through an injury right now. It doesn't mean that we're giving up on you. It doesn't mean that just because you're injured that you're done. Unfortunately, that may be the mindset that some of the guys have, that they fear, but we have to let them know, hey, you got to go in there, get treatment for this injury. get your rehab for this injury, get it back stronger than what it was, so that, you know, when you are healthy, you can bounce back. And that's something that I always want to give the message to our players, that, hey, we're not giving up on you. I mean, hey, just because you have an injury doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. It's a minor setback for a major comeback.
It's another home game, so it'll be really exciting. For Dorrel Montgomery, I'm Hannah Nall, and we'll be back with more on the Adam Dorrel Show.
Welcome back to the Adam Dorrel Show. Take a look at this week's Southland Conference schedule. It is highlighted by the 92nd edition of the Battle of the Piney Woods between Sam Houston State and Stephen F. Austin. They played that game down at the home of the Houston Texans in Houston. Well, here in Abilene tonight, ASU hosts McNeese, the third game to be played at Wildcat Stadium. The Cowboys come in with an overall record of 4-1, and like ACU, 2-1 in conference play. Both teams coming off resounding victories on the road last week. So a huge game in the Southland standings. Coach McNeese boasts the best defense in the league, one of the best in all of the FCS. Why is their defense so good?
Just super athletic. They play hard. They're tall, rangy kids. They're tough. They're hard-nosed. You know, I think they take on the personality of their head coach, who was a great defensive player there. And, you know, McNeese, he's been through a lot of wars with those guys. And so they're just a very talented group, and they're well coached. And you can see they really care about each other, man. They play hard.
Second year for Lance Guidry as the head coach of McNeese. When they lost to Nichols, they gave up a couple of big plays. Do you have to hit a couple of big ones in this game tonight?
Yeah, I think so, because what they do schematically, they're daring you to kind of try to do that. And a lot of times, you know, they say their guys are going to be better than yours. And so, absolutely. The thing that stands out to me is I think on the year they've only given up 3 runs over 15 yards or more. And so, again, I think a lot of people just try to abandon the run game because of what they do defensively. They crowd the box. They're a pressure defense. And so we're going to try to stay balanced and do what we do and use our check system and do different things like that to try to keep them off balance.
When we mentioned the Nichols game, it was their only loss of the year. Incredibly, they had the ball for 40 minutes in that game and yet still lost the game. If you're going to be a ball-controlled team, you have to have a good defense that gets the other team off the field, but you have to be able to run the ball as well, and they do run it. When you look at their team offensively, what do you see?
You know, offensive line-wise, they're so big, powerful guys that come off the football very well. They got a 2-headed attack at tailback. Both those kids are very tough, hard-nosed. They finish their runs. They got an outstanding H-back who, you know, for as big as he is, he runs really well. They'll just hand the ball off to him on jet sweep.
Old school.
Yes, old school. And then, obviously, they'll throw him a lot of play-action passes. But very fundamentally sound what they do. They try not to make mistakes, try not to beat themselves.
Should be a great defensive battle tonight, but oftentimes when you're expecting defense, who knows, crazy things happen offensively as well. Should be a lot of fun tonight. Kickoff set for 7 o'clock at Wildcat Stadium. Originally 6, they moved it to 7. Pre-game show beginning at 6:30 on 98.1 FM. The Ticket and around the world on ACUsports.com. For Hannah Knoll and Coach Adam Dorrel, I'm Grant Boone. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll see you out at the stadium, and we'll see you next week right here on the Adam Dorrel Show.